Alright, so step one on how to build a half pipe. You want to determine how high you want your half pipe. I'm building mine 2 foot high. It's easy to try new tricks on, safe for the kids, you know, nothing too crazy. I'm not much of a vert skater. So, a sheet of plywood, it's 4 foot. So you can go anywhere around. I already have my 2 foot marked out right there. Okay, so you're gonna want to make a radius. This is often the most overlooked part of building a half pipe or a ramp in general. It's actually really easy though. Here's the best way I can explain it. So once you got your height, figure out how wide you want your top to be. So I'm wanting mine 17, 18 inches, around there. So mark that spot and put you a little screw. Once you got that, mark the same spot over here, 18 inches over, and then take off an inch, maybe 2 inches. Just take off a little bit. Alright, so once you did that, draw a straight line here and a straight line here. So now, take a 2x4, put it on one side of the line, and however far that is, so say 18 inches, put another mark at 18 inches and lay your 2x4 on top of it. Now if you don't have a building or something to screw into, you can lay multiple pieces of plywood down to screw it to, or you can drive a stake in the ground for your pivot point. So for a 2 foot, the radius is 90 inches. I already know that. I've built way too many half pipes in my life. What you want to do is you want to take the 2x4 and you want to mark it. See how I got 80, 75, 90s right there. Just mark it every inch. And then take your tape measure on your screw. And then you see where 90 is? And the screw's on 90. You want this measurement to be the same as that measurement. Wherever these two line up at, maybe here, maybe down here, maybe way up here. Wherever they line up at the same measurement, that's where your pivot point is. And once you put that as your pivot point, as that pivots, it'll be a perfect radius. So it's as if you were going in a gigantic circle. Now, this can be adjusted. Say I were to move the screw down and do it, the radius would be a lot smaller. Say you want a quicker transition or vert, that's how you would do that. Now, I don't like that. I don't want any vert. I just want a smooth transition. But you know, if you want a tighter radius, move your screw in some. But also moving your pivot point down will also make it shorter. So it'll be like this rather than that. But yeah, once you got that, give you something to mark it with. Hold it against it, and then you can move it like that. And you'll have your radius right there. Good thing about 2 foot half pipes is you can actually get 4 per sheet of plywood, because I can put one here, flip it over, put one there, and then 2 more on the top. So yeah, go ahead and cut this out. I recommend using a jigsaw. You can actually do it with a skill saw if you set your depth and you're pretty good with a skill saw, but jigsaw is the best way to go. So I'm gonna cut these out, and tomorrow go ahead and get the 2x4s and everything set up to start building it, because it's dark outside. All right, so day 2 half pipe build. I got all these cut out. You can see there's 8 of them, because I'm building a 16 foot wide half pipe. if you can see this post to that post, it's 8 foot, to that one it's 16 foot. So it's going to be about that big. Before you start building it, I would recommend raking, weeding the grass, you know, get all the organic material out from under it so you don't have anything rotting underneath it, moisture build up. It's going to cause it to mold. All right, so now step one, ground preparation. You want to find the highest point in your yard or wherever you're building it at. So if you see the block I have there, this is the highest point and that's the lowest point. It ain't by much, it's only by about 2 inches. You can either get a long level and do this, or sometimes it's obvious, or I would say measure a point here and there, so 3 foot and 3 foot, and put a piece of string along the top of 2 2x4s or something, and you can look at the string and you can see how level the ground is. You can also use a level line for the string. That works very well. But yeah, clear all the crap from the ground so you get solid ground. Put your block right here, put it level where you want your first corner, and then you're gonna go that way, and then you're gonna go that way, and then, you know, since this is the highest point, those blocks will come up, so those will have more blocks than this one. If you start there and you come to here, you're gonna be into the ground, so always start at the highest point. All right, so before you can put it together, you got to cut your 2x4s. Most of them are going to be the same length that go inside the radius part. The way you find this measurement, so if it's 8 foot wide or 16 foot wide, you know, whatever one end is to one end, you want to take 2 layers of plywood and measure it. See, it's like 1.25 inches. And then you got to take that off your 2x4. So if your 2x4 is 8 foot, if your 2x4 is 8 foot, take off 1.25 inches, so it'd be like 94 3/4. So you cut that off, and then when you put on your plywood, it'll be exactly 8 foot outside to outside. I kind of made a mistake and bought these 93-inch 2x4s. Like, you know, the 20 of them over there are 93 inches. So I'm just not going to cut them at all. The half pipe will be, you know, like 2 inches shorter, but I also don't have to cut anything. So that's actually really wonderful. So yeah, go ahead and cut all your 2x4s just for your radius. So I'd say for these, it's every 16 inches. So maybe 6 on each one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 6, 24. So go ahead and cut them for that, and then you can start screwing them together. All right, so starting off, you want to go ahead and put 2 screws here, 2 screws here. This one's going to lay flat, and this one's going to lay straight up. So you can go ahead and do that to 2 of them, or you can do it to all of them, whatever you want to do. And then your 2x4s getting screwed to that. So now by doing that, you don't have to hold multiple things. Your screws are already ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting them together. Is that it? That's what you want to do, and you want to go ahead and do it to all of them. So if you're building 8 foot, just make 2 of them. I'm building 16 foot, so I got to do it 4 times. So I'm gonna do this 4 times, and I'm gonna get back to y'all. We have 4 of them put together, and we have our blocks laid out for one side. I wanted to show you guys how to level this. Coming off from here, you'll put a 2x4 and a block. That little gap is for the plywood width. And then you put that there. You can see it's level. Then you put your other block over here straight, put your level on it, and see I'll have a block of wood, so that means it goes downhill 1.5 inches. So put a block of wood, or you can put some dirt underneath it or rocks and pack it down. That works also. So you do that, and then essentially what I have here, you're gonna put 1, 2, 3 more, and then the whole thing will sit on top of that. You can put more support maybe in the center, especially if you're going to be doing a little bit of flat ground tricks or something. Also, you could put blocks in the middle of these, you know, if you want to. I don't think you really have to, but say you're going to have 4 people at a time skating on it and they, you know, aren't super skinny. But yeah, you can support it however you want. But now I'm going to show you guys how to mark and frame this. So we're doing 4 sheets of plywood as the top. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 sheets. Now, a sheet of plywood is 4 foot wide. And to avoid cutting any of it, wherever you got your coping mark at, go here and measure 4 foot down. So I got 4 foot. So there's 1 sheet of plywood. I put a stud here, and from here to wherever the other mark is on the other side, make sure that that is 8 feet. And you can have 2 sheets of plywood. Mommy. And you don't have to cut any. What, baby? You want the camera? I know. Alright, so framed all 4 of them and set them on their blocks to get them level. Now we're going to build this big middle part. Also, I use 2 of these. That way I can screw them together. So yeah, so what you want to do first is here in the middle and then on the end, you want to take a 2x4. And so since I'm doing an 8 foot center, I have 8 foot marked there and there, and then I'm minusing half the 2x4, so it ends up being 92.5 from there to there. So cut 3 of them and put those 3, and once you have those 3, you can continue your 16 inches on center. So we can go from here 16 inches and 16 inches and then so on and so forth, and then the rest of it will be framed. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Once you have your 3 put in, put your tape measure out, start at your 4 foot mark from the top, mark every 16 inches. So most tape measures have this little red thing right here because house code is 16. So you mark it on there, each red one. 48, 64, and 80. And there's your marks. And I recommend measuring it from each one going this way, because if you change it up and do it that way, your mark should be off, you know, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, depending on where the half pipe's sitting at. So you can do the same thing here and there, and then once you do that, we're going to put 2x4s every 16 inches. And as you see how this one's flat and those are standing up, the same thing is going to go for here. I'm going to do this one flat, because every 4 foot you're putting 2 pieces of plywood together, and rather than putting 2 studs or trying to put both on 1 stud, you can just lay it flat. And if you're worried about it being too flimsy, put a little piece of wood or something up underneath it. All right, and I'll show you what that looks like when I get done. This is pretty much it. That's all the framing. You can see how I finished the middle. Everything's 16 inches on center. I mean, I'm using 4-ply 5/8 plywood, so you can do 16 inches. Now, if you were to use anything thinner, say a 1/2 inch or 2 layers of 3/8, you'd want to do 12 inches on center. You lose your shoe. I got you, Bubba. But yeah, next is plywood, so we're gonna do that. Let me pause the camera. Holy crap, it got dark. Alright, so there's the start of the plywood. I'm gonna finish decking it, and you know, tomorrow when there's some sunlight, show you guys what it looks like. So day 3. I got some of the plywood done last night, but I thought I'd leave a radius to show you guys. So for me, for this plywood, it takes maybe 250 pounds-ish to get it down, but that's if you stand in the middle. If you stand on one edge, your body weight should be able to do it. You can do this edge and then you can do that edge. It's pretty easy. So you get here, and if you put your hand here and you kind of like force yourself down, you can get it down all the way. So do that here and screw it to the studs, and then you do the same thing there and screw it to those 2 studs. And once you do that, you can finish screwing it. I like to screw it about every 12 inches maybe. And there you can see we got the radius to it. Now we're going to do the top blocking. I'll show you all that here in a minute. Alright, so decking's done. All that plywood's done, screwed down. Now I'm doing the top part. So do you see how I have this hangover here? Now this is like 16 inches, but I wanted a 24-inch piece. What's it, girl? Look. Yeah, camera? Yeah. But this hangover is what's called a cantilever, I guess you'd say, and you can hang it over about 25% of the width and not have a problem with it. But if you go that far or further, you can take like a post to support the center if you want, there and there. If you think it needs it. I mean, this hangover doesn't need it, but on the other side I'm doing 4 foot, so I'll put a post on the other side. So yeah, so put your blocking, and then put your plywood on top, and then next will be the coping. I'll show you guys that once I get to it. So real quick, I wanted to show you all the other side. You see how much wider it is? So this side's gonna be 4 foot because I'm gonna connect it to the trampoline.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Bubba. And see, since it's so far out, I got posts holding it up. But yeah, I'm gonna throw plywood on this and then show you all the coping. What color is it? What color is it? Is it purple? Hey, purple?
Purple.
Good boy. He said purple. Alright guys, so day 4. It started pouring rain last night, so I had to clean up all the tools, couldn't finish it. But here we are. Got the coping sat out where it needs to be. I made the hole a little too big, but it's okay because I moved the plywood in some. All right, so first step you want to do, lay it out, cut it to length, you know, because they come in 10 foot, so do 2/8, I guess, so it meets right in the middle. You want to drill 3 holes. I drilled them 3/8. That's about the size of the head of a screw. It's a little bigger, gives you some room, and I put it towards the bottom, and I'm drilling it in just like that. That way the hole's here, not a lot of water will get in it. Also, it won't interfere with you grinding it. And as you can tell, I'm using Schedule 40 PVC. Standard is, you know, metal. Everyone uses metal. I've been using PVC for a long time. It grinds great, works great. If you're really heavy, use metal. Don't use this. But I'm $1.50. I don't really have that problem. I'd say 250 plus, that's pushing it. Then you want to use metal. Or if you're just really crazy at skating and you slam hard on it doing tricks, you know, then use metal. Standard size is 2-inch, and that's 2-inch Schedule 40. So 2-inch inner diameter, outer diameter will be about 2 3/8, something like that. This is 1.5 inches, so my outer diameter is right at 2 inches. It's a little bit smaller, but it's less than half the price of 2-inch. So that's why I go with this. It saves a lot of money, and I have literally never had a problem with it. I also don't like gigantic coping because your wheels get hung up and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of big coping. So yeah, so drill your 3 holes, and then you can put your 3 screws in it. And also, these meet up pretty good, but I'm gonna show you guys, you can put a piece of 1-inch pipe right here and smack them together, and that way it'll always be one piece. I'm gonna go grab it real quick. You can popsicle all over the half pipe, huh? Alright, so this is what I'm talking about. This is a 1-inch coupler, yeah, and it fits right in there. You kind of smack it with a hammer because it's really tight, but yeah, you put it halfway in there, and then take this and put it in there. That will make this like one piece, and it'll be smooth. But yeah, so do that and put your screws in, and that's pretty much it. I guess I'll finish up this coping and then start skating it a little bit. I'm gonna paint it, but it'll probably way later. Pretty much on the final step, I've installed and painted my coping, and both sides of the coping I've caulked, and every seam on the plywood has been caulked. Up there I'm using I think it's acrylic and silicone, whatever I guess it's a mix between both. It's for exterior. So, and then right here, the part that's going to take a lot of the skating and vibration, I'm using polyurethane based sealant. So whatever you want to use, you can use. Just make sure it's exterior and pretty good with weather. So now I'm letting that set up, and then here in a minute I'm going to paint all this. So my coping's red, I'm going to paint all this light gray, and then I'm going to do a little zigzag design with red lines. It's going to look pretty cool. So I'll paint that, and then she's going to be ready to skate soon. Alright, so it got dark and I continued painting. I probably stayed up till 3 in the morning painting this thing. I ran out of tape and it was hard to do the lines. It was somewhat of a headache, but the finished product was well worth it. So there you can see the reveal. That's what it is and looks like, and I'll show you guys me skating it. Alright guys, so here it is, finished product. Finally. It only took like 5 days, but my GoPro died, so I'm using my phone. But yeah, what do you think? Looks pretty, right? Obviously got to clean up the yard. I got a freaking mess out here after building this thing. But this end's 4 foot wide. That's 2 foot wide. Red coping, red design lines, whatever you would call them. But yeah, it looks freaking dope. We're gonna skate it for the first time. Future advice: don't build a half pipe in spring or fall, because the amount of pollen falling on this thing is ridiculous. It was so hard to paint without getting stuff everywhere. Oh, stop. It's so smooth. This thing is just absolutely perfect. I mean, the width, the height, everything. I haven't skated a ramp in a year and a half, maybe. It's been a while, so I suck at pumping right now. But yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. It is just, I mean, it's smooth as can be. The coping's the right size and height. That paint is not going to last at all. First person. There's an ant. Holy crap. Freaking dope, son.